Well, good evening, everyone. I'm Clyde, one of the Dharma leaders here at Insight Meditation in Charlotte, and we, on behalf of all Dharma leaders, welcome everybody that's online. Well, tonight we're starting what has become our annual summer series on the suttas, the summer sutta series. And tonight I'll be doing a talk on a sutta, and over the next four nights after this, a different Dharma teacher will be giving. We'll take a sutta, do a teaching on that, explore it, see what it means to them. So that's what we'll be doing over the next, these 5 Wednesday nights. But tonight I want to do a little bit of an overview of, what is a sutta? We say sutta this and sutta that. So what is a sutta? And sutta is really part of what we call the Polycanon, and it's called the Tripitaka, is the Polycanon, and this is Tipitaka. T is 3, Pitaka means baskets. There's 3 baskets in the Polycanon, and these 3 baskets, or the Polycanon, is a collection of the primary Pali language texts which form the doctrinal foundation of the Theravada Buddhism. And Theravada Buddhism is what we practice here. And Thera means elders, Vada is word. So it's the doctrine or word of the elders. So you have these 3 baskets. They're pitakas. And within the 3 baskets, there's going to be the Vinaya Pitaka. This is the one, is the rules and the origin, the rules and regulations for the nuns and the monks in the monasteries. It's the discipline around that. So we don't talk about that much in here, if ever. We mention it, but we don't study that because we're not nuns and monks in a monastery. One of the other baskets is the Abhidhamma, and people have heard the Abhidhamma. The Abhidhamma is a Buddhist analysis of mind and mental processes. It includes philosophy, psychology, and ethics. And so it's just a real detailed analysis of mind moments. And here's a comprehensive manual that was done by Bhikkhu Bodhi. Let's give you an example of how detailed this is. This is for very advanced people. Just the contents: a compendium of consciousness, compendium of mental factors, a compendium of miscellaneous, compendium of the cognitive process, of the process free of matter, of categories, of conditionality, of meditation subjects. So anybody that wants to get into that, have at it, but we don't do a lot of that in here because it's really advanced. These people have advanced in more of a study, but they've been able to map every mind moment. So we come to the 3rd basket of the Tipitaka, and that is the Sutta Pitaka. And this is the collection of the discourses attributed to the Buddha and a few of his closest disciples, containing the central teachings of Theravada Buddhism. So that's what we get the idea of the Sutta. The Sutta Pitaka is where all the teachings are. So we talk about the suttas, and in here we use the word a lot. We're going to teach from this sutta or that sutta. This is the basket of the Polycanon that we're pulling these from. Now, within the Sutta Pitaka, there are what they call collections. There's over 10,000 suttas. We're going to cover them all in the next 5 weeks. These collections are called Nikayas. And y'all have heard us talk about here the Majjhima Nikaya. Well, Nikaya is just the collection or the other books of these. So the Nikaya. And within the sutta, there's 5 of them. And I'm really bad at the Pali language, so I'm going to say these, and they're probably wrong. You've heard us talk about the Digna Nikaya, and that's the long discourses. There's only 34 of those, but they're long. The Majjhima Nikaya is the middle-length discourses. There's 152 of those, and that's where you're familiar with it. The Anapanasati Sutta is in here, mindfulness of breathing. The Satipatthana Sutta is in here, the foundations of mindfulness. Samyutta Nikaya is the connected or group discourses. Anguttara Nikaya is the numerical discourses because they do things by numbers. So the book of ones, book of twos, book of threes, so then it goes to the book of 8 or 9, something like that. And then the Khuddaka Nikaya is the division of short books. It's 15 books, and this includes the Dhammapada. We've used that in here a lot, and the Jakarta Tales, previous tales of the life of the Buddha. That's included in this last Nikaya. So you have the Polycanon, you have the 3 baskets, and then with the Sutta Pitaka, you have the 5 Nikayas. And that's what suttas come through with these Nikayas. So that kind of gives you, hopefully, kind of an overview of when we talk about a sutta, where they're coming from. But they're really the basic teachings that we use in our tradition. So with that, I'm going to be doing, I picked up a sutta. And it's from the Gadrabha Nikaya 3.81. You'll hear sometimes say AM. MN, the numbers will be the Majjhima Nikaya. It's Gadrabha Sutta. And I picked this sutta for several reasons. There's several reasons why I picked this one. Number one, is relatively short. Number two, it uses a simile. You know, and how we heard about parables, but this Buddha taught a lot in similes to teach people, because back then nothing was recorded. So using a description terms really helped. It is kind of funny, I think. I hope it will be. The suttas can get kind of repetitive and mundane over and over and over. So I picked one to kind of liven things up a little bit. The fourth reason is that he talks to monks. He's going to say, monks, this is what you should do. And in a lot of the suttas, he talks to monks or the monastic community. So I wanted to look at this and see, okay, do I just skip over this and keep going, or what is in it for me in this sutta? And then the fifth reason I picked is because it's leading me into the last part of my talk tonight, which I want to give you a few resources on studying the suttas. Okay, so this is the Gadrabha Sutta, or called the Donkey Sutta. I'm going to read it. Okay, monks, it is just as if a donkey were following right after a herd of cattle, saying, I too am a cow. I too am a cow. Its color is not that of a cow. Its voice is not that of a cow. Its hoof is not that of a cow. And yet it still follows right after the herd of cattle, saying, I too am a cow. I can move. I too am a cow. I can move. In the same way, there is the case where a certain monk follows right after the community of monks, saying, I too am a monk. I too am a monk. He doesn't have the other monks' desire for undertaking the training in heightened virtue. He doesn't have the desire for undertaking the training in heightened mind or concentration. He doesn't have the desire for undertaking the training in heightened discernment or wisdom. And yet he still keeps following right after the community of monks, saying, I too am a monk. I too am a monk. So you should train yourselves. Strong will be our desire for undertaking the training in heightened virtue. Strong will be our desire for undertaking the training in heightened mind. Strong will be our desire for undertaking the training in heightened discernment. This is how you should train yourselves. Now, when I look at this, how does this apply to me? He's talking about these monks. How does this apply to me? Well, I looked at my practice, and if I look at here's another thing. I said this was in the Gadrabha Nikaya, and it's the numerical discourses. Well, he talks about 3 things in there: heightened virtue, heightened mind, and heightened discernment. So that's the 3. That's why it would be in the book of threes. That's where you'd find this sutta. But I looked at those, and I said the heightened virtue and the heightened this. If I took out the heightened word, heightened, and I looked at that and I said, well, there's training in virtue, there's training in concentration, and there's training in discernment. So how does that apply to me? What is the virtue? For us, as lay people, we go back virtue is our sila, our ethical guidelines. We go back to the Four Noble Truths, we go back to the Eightfold Path, and there we see right speech. Am I abstaining from false speech? Am I abstaining from slanderous speech? Am I abstaining from harsh speech? Am I abstaining from idle chatter? Now, these could apply to the monks just as well. We also have right action. Am I abstaining from taking of life? Am I abstaining from taking what is not given? Am I abstaining from sexual misconduct? Now, the last one, when we talk in the teachings, it has right livelihood also as part of the ethical, our sila, and he gives some actual occupations in there that we shouldn't do, but the guidelines around that: is it legal? Is it peaceful? I'm not doing it with violence or coercion. Am I earning my money honestly? And I'm not doing it to harm or create suffering for others. So those kind of the guidelines around that. So as a layperson, I can look at this. Do I have the desire to train in these sila or these ethical guidelines? So that's the first one. The second one is mind or concentration. And for me, that has to do with my meditation practice. Do I have enthusiasm and desire for my meditation practice? Do I have a daily meditation practice? As we talked last week, do I want to go on retreats to kind of recharge my meditation practice and keep it going? What's my desire for training around this idea of mind? And what's my desire around that? So that applies to me. And the Buddha says you should have the desire to train for this. The third one is heightened discernment, is what they talk about, but it's discernment. And discernment can also mean, as it was translated also as wisdom. For me, to be able to act out of wisdom and discernment, I have to be mindful. So this is my mindfulness. I have my meditation on the cushion, my mindfulness to be able to see what is arising in this present moment. I need to be mindful. So I need to practice. I want to be diligent about being mindful. I can't have wise action if I'm not mindful. It just follows. I need to see, am I acting out of wholesome intentions versus unwholesome intentions? So this first one was, so that's how I can look at this. Even though it says monks, you need to be doing this. I can look at this and go, wait a minute. The Buddha is really talking as a layperson. I can get something out of this sutta. In other words, am I a donkey or am I a cat? So you can always think about this. Am I just giving lip service to being on the path? Am I giving lip service to being a practitioner here? So some of the ways. So I looked at everyone, well, say that's the sutta itself. So I said, well, what's some of the ways that I can stay on the path, or I can have this enthusiasm for the training? Am I truly following the path? And those are things we've talked about in here. Do I practice generosity, which is the first pillar of Buddhism? Do I have a daily practice at home or wherever? Or what's my enthusiasm for wanting to train in this? Do I practice or do I follow the ethical guidelines, the sila that we talk about in here? That all supports my practice. Am I part of a community, being here? This is also said, I'm here. This is the herd. We're here. But also as part of your want to train to be a part of this, to be here, to be supported by the Sangha, to help other people, the community. Another way is to study, and that's doing what we do here. We study the suttas, and we come and we interpret them and see how they apply in our lives. So we want to study the suttas. And there's a lot of ways you can do this. Access on the internet, there's access to Insight. They even have which is a website that has a lot of the teachings written. They have a thing called Befriending the Suttas, tips on reading the Pali discourses. Because it's a huge thing, and it's hard to pick, like we're picking one out, but to start reading this can be daunting. Another good, if you're starting on the discourses, is In the Buddha's Words by Bhikkhu Bodhi. It's an anthology of discourses from the Polycanon, but he doesn't just throw them at you. He says, okay, he gives you an introduction. He says, this is where the Buddha explains this and refers to the sutta that does it. So he follows it through. So and a lot of these, there's another one called readingfaithfully.org, which will have suttas sent to you. And a lot of these have ways in which you can approach the sutta. So you don't just have to jump in. Here's, if you want to read about this, here's how they give you some direction. And you may be doing some of these in your Kalyadamita groups, in your study groups. Are you studying the suttas? There's another one called Sutta Central, which is where I got some stuff for tonight. It breaks down the Polycanon, and you can have access to these. So these are some of the ways that you can do if you want to follow up and study some of these suttas outside of just what we do here and what we bring on Wednesday nights. You have access to be able to study the suttas. And this is all about developing that enthusiasm for the practice so you're more than a donkey. So I'm going to end tonight with something from the Sutta Sutta. This is from Bhante Sujato, who had a discourse here on how to read the suttas. He encourages everyone to have a habit of daily or at least a weekly reading of the suttas. I don't, so I'm trying not to be a donkey. I need to do more. It's best to read them a little at a time. One mental length sutta is ideal for one session. Read it slowly, carefully. Notice there are things you don't understand, and be aware of what you think you already understand. Be aware of what you think you already understand. When you have finished, check any footnotes or other guides to comprehension. Don't get too analytical about it. Try to soak in the whole essence of the teaching. If you read a sutta before meditation, it can uplift and inspire your mind, and the meaning becomes clear. Notice your own response to the text. What is inspiring? What is boring? What is dubious? Your responses belong to you, not to the text. Beware of the mind that wants to criticize the text. Have compassion for the text. Read it kindly, as if you were listening to a beloved friend. It was composed in an oral tradition in a far-off time and place. It is a miracle that it exists at all. If you're in doubt, remember the poised attitude that the suttas themselves speak of. Neither accepting nor rejecting, I will inquire about the meaning. We are not expected to believe literally every detail of the scriptures, but if we read them with a fault-finding mind, we will never really get it. The suttas are often repetitive and can be mundane, but their beauty is a subtle thing. It lies in the balance, the sense of form, the reasonableness, the Buddha's serenity, and the wisdom in every imaginable situation. Thank you.